agri-processor. They've been at it for 20 years. A guy made his money in Amsterdam's coffee shops. On the psychoactive side, believes in this plant and has kept this hemp life going for 20 years with, Martinsville just really starting to get into the profit mode now. And as I was touring, as an offhand thing, I saw mechanics banging on big tractors as I was leaving after a long tour. And I said, what's going on there? He said, in this one field we've got going, we're thinking about chopping off flowers to use in body care products. So we have to adjust. This is the most established type of body processor in Europe. We have to adjust all our harvesters so that we can do our first cutting of this flower for the first time ever in their 20-year history. So it's think and adapt as you go.
Okay, thanks guys for answering. I do want to remind everybody quickly about the grassroots development program that you can participate in immediately and start getting your hands dirty and wet with seed or seedlings. Next question.
Hello, thank you. My name is Robert. I have a question for, is it Laura? Yes. Can 3 individuals plant research and development permits on the same 30-acre plot? I have 2 questions actually. And if your flower is found to be above 3%, can you keep the seed? 0.3%.
First of all, your first question about the 3 individuals on the same piece of property, it all depends on how you are organized in terms of your business structure. So if you're all under the same business structure, I would assume you need 1 application. But if the 3 of you are all under different business structures, so you're all separate businesses, you would need 3 different permits. Okay? And then if your crop tests at over 0.3%, and if you are research and development, you are allowed to keep that product. So if you're registered as research and development, the assumption is that your product is not entering the marketplace. You're working on it so that what you develop will eventually enter the marketplace. And so this first year, it would be, I would say, very unusual that your product that is coming from research and development would enter the marketplace. And so over 0.3, you're given a big leeway because we are assuming that you're going to be hybridizing, crossing, breeding, whatever, so that you can lower that THC content. So you would not be forced to destroy anything. You could utilize the seed. Now on the commercial side, if your crop tests at above 0.3, and I don't know that you're going to register as commercial, but those that do, if your crop tests at above 0.3, you have a waiver, and maybe this is a kind of a, let me be clear about the waiver. The waiver, if you test between 0.3 and 1%, you will not lose your registration, and you will be allowed to register with us again. But testing at above 0.3, according to the legal definition of this crop, it is no longer considered industrial hemp, and you would not be allowed to sell that crop. You wouldn't lose your registration.
And did that answer your question, sir? Yes. Okay, great. I'm going to do one more on this side and then go to that gentleman on that side.
Hi, this is actually another question for Laura. So you discussed earlier that this is a registration process and registered with the state and that applications are starting today. What are the fees associated with that registration process and how long do you expect that registration process to take? If you register, how long, when can you buy the seeds and the plants to still be within the state guidelines and keep your ducks in a row?
You may have to remind me what your last one was after I go through this. But we do have fees established. So research and development, the fees are $100 plus $5 an acre. If you're going to register as commercial, it's a $200 fee plus $1 an acre. Remembering that right now, R&D is limited to 10 acres. Can't do more than that. So your max there, and you can figure, you can do, 150. There's not a minimum. There's not a minimum. But we're going to charge you a minimum of 1 acre. We're not going to do the math and get into all that, sorry. Okay? If you're just doing 1 square foot, we're not going to get into math. All right, now, you'll have to remind me what your second question was, sorry. Oh, how long? I mean, to be totally honest with you, we don't know. We don't know how many we're going to get. And so what I have to do when you register is I have to just verify the information you give me. So those are GPS coordinates. I need to make sure that they make sense. You didn't give me GPS coordinates for Asia. You gave it to me for Colorado, basically. And then we need maps. So I need to see where they are. And this is all in preparation for sampling. I do need to know variety. Now, I'm very well aware that some of you may not know what the variety is. So it's legitimate to put unknown, but it will be good for all of us as an industry as a whole if you tell me what the variety is, because we will be collecting information that is very valuable for the industry as a whole. So we would like to know that. How long will it take? Well, as I said, because I don't know how many applications I'm going to have to go through, and I do manage 5 other programs in the state. Okay, so you got to get in line. And we were not able to hire any more people to help us because it's an unknown. We'll see how it goes in the future. So I would anticipate a week or 2, and then you would get your permit. Again, don't hold me to that because I don't know. Honestly, don't know. The registration deadline is the 1st of May, so we got to have it all in. Oh, how quick after registration can you get seeds and plants legally immediately?
And there is currently 1 seed registered with the State of Colorado Agriculture Department right now, and it is named Colorado Star. Okay, so I'm going to this side really quick, and then I'll be back to you guys. Is everybody doing okay in here? Making good time?
All right, I just wanted to, first of all, say thanks for organizing this. It's exciting to see all this work being done here in Colorado. I think it's, so I'm Nolan Kane. I'm doing some research with Ben on the genetics. I just want to make 2 quick statements. First of all, we're studying the genome, but that doesn't mean genetic modification. That's not anything that's related to what we're doing, and it's just an important caveat that I just want to make. And I think that there are a lot of big reasons why I don't think anyone in the U.S. is going to be doing genetic modification on industrial hemp. So, I would definitely advocate for that. Just as a wind pollinated plant, I think it would be a bad idea. But also, beyond that, I'm really excited to get into this and doing some of the basic research to support a lot of these ideas that you guys are doing on the more applied side. Really exciting. And just to follow up on what Bob asked about how we can basically do the research in a way that complies with the regulations, I'd like to know more about that process and what the regulations are going to be moving forward, and how we find out more about, okay, if I want to grow plants on campus, let's say I don't need them to grow to flowering, then do you test other materials, or they don't need to be tested at all, or I'm not allowed to do that, or what are the rules if they're not going to go to flowering? Also, just learning more about, I guess, what the registrations process is going to be like. I'd be really interested to learn more about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Laura, do you want to cover that, or do you want to have a private? Oh my God, I am so sorry, everybody.
I can cover some of this for you, but you're asking very valid questions. You're asking questions that we will need to look at a lot more in depth, probably on a case-by-case basis. What it says in the law is that the 0.3% THC of any part of the plant. I think I lost, sorry. We want to test the flowers. I believe, scientifically, that's the only way we can get consistency in this industry. Now, with that said, there may be some individuals that, for whatever purpose, research or whatever, they are not going to allow the plant to go to flower. We need to work together on an individual basis. We may need to work with you since you're at a university level. You may have techniques that we don't have available in our own lab. You know, we're going to use GC to do this. But if you have PCR, and if you have markers for genes, I am very interested in looking at how we can collaborate, because we need to, again, this may be a separate project, but we need to work on ways to analyze this crop in a consistent manner. And that, you know, if we could have the genetic map as you're going for, maybe we don't have to test the flower in order to be able to scientifically, you know, validly classify the plant. So at this point, we want the flowers, but we're very willing to work. So it may not be an immediate thing. Now, I probably just don't want to rest your question. Okay, thank you.
Thanks again, Laura. All right.
I guess, well, actually, it's for anyone who wants to answer it, and it's also just as much an intention to plant a seed, so to speak, with everyone here at the panel and the audience, as it is a question. And the fellow from the university, I was pleased to hear you say that you don't feel like there's any reason for transgenics to happen with industrial hemp, and that's a relief to me to know that you feel that way. But I think that our recent history of agriculture in the United States shows us that we cannot count on that. And one of the things you said, which I assume is one of your reasons for feeling like that won't happen, is the wind pollination and the very easy wind pollination of this plant. Now, from certain industrial standpoints, that would be the best reason, not the worst, to make a transgenic variety. If you look at corn, in this country we've gone from about 5% of the corn in the United States being transgenic to a cross-pollination that has resulted in virtually all of it, including corn that's labeled organic, being, in fact, transgenic when it's studied. Soon the organic label will not be allowed to apply to corn because organic corn, for all intents and purposes, no longer exists. This is becoming true of every crop that the transgenic folks have gotten their hands on. So I assure you all today, as someone mentioned earlier, there are representatives here of every industry and every group that has an interest in marijuana, and one of the, industrial hemp, or medicinal marijuana. So the cross-pollination between the medicinal marijuana and the industrial hemp is one issue. Most medicinal plants are grown indoors, and filters can help with that. But the research crops will largely be grown outdoors, and the cross-pollination between research crops and industrial hemp is a huge concern. So within a couple of years, Colorado could find itself in a very different place. We could be going from a very exciting sort of new dawn of a new era type feeling to one in which we find ourselves confronted with lawsuits from organizations that, when they first approach farmers in Colorado, the whole idea is we want to help you. We want to give you the gifts of our knowledge, like some kind of monster Santa, basically. Okay, so that's just something that I would really hope that everyone in this room can take away and start to think about. Farmers in Canada have been sued and put out of business because their rapeseed oil was contaminated. It was not their fault, but they were sued by the industry that allowed the cross-pollination onto their land. And this has been happening all over the world. So we could find ourselves with Terminator seeds. We could find ourselves needing to buy these seeds. You know, so we need to keep seed stocks from the very, very beginning and keep them very, very preciously close to our hearts, you know, and protected so that that is something that can never happen. But we can also have crops that in many other ways, while they purport to be better, are not. So, sorry for taking so long, but I think this is something that we need to start thinking about more or less yesterday. So that